Today, we're going on a journey to a place that is just breathtakingly beautiful, with a history that runs incredibly deep. And it's all to understand this single, captivating expression that was carved into stone. They call it the Oriental Smile. So let's dive in.
So picture this. Deep in the mountains of China, there's this single peak just cutting through the mist. I mean, it looks like something straight out of a legend, right? Almost too magical to be real. But the craziest part, the most incredible thing, is the 1,600-year-old secret that's literally carved right into its cliffs.
So you gotta ask yourself, what exactly is this place? This mountain sanctuary? And maybe more importantly, what on earth would possess people 1,600 years ago to carve an entire city dedicated to their faith into a sheer cliff face? Well, we're gonna find out. Okay, so our first stop on this journey is just to try and wrap our heads around the incredible scale of this place. It's really, truly a mountain of Buddhas. So this is Maizhishan. Now, its name actually means wheat stack mountain, and you can totally see why, right? It just shoots up from the ground like a big stack of wheat. It's this really familiar kind of earthy shape that connects this, divine place back to the everyday lives of the people who built it. So the Maizhishan grottos are a pretty big deal. They're actually one of China's 4 great Buddhist grotto sites. And we're not just talking about a single temple here. No, this is like an entire city of temples. A kind of spiritual library, all carved right into the mountain itself, starting way back, over 1,600 years ago. And the numbers here, they're just mind-blowing. We are talking about 221 separate caves, carved out like some kind of giant honeycomb. And inside, over 7,200 sculptures. Think about that. Every single one with its own story. It's basically a massive art gallery just hanging in the sky. But that brings up a really important question. Why here? Of all places, why this mountain? Well, the answer has everything to do with one of the most famous trade networks in all of human history, the Silk Road. You see, Maizhishan's location was just perfect. It was right at this huge intersection where the Silk Road met up with other major trade routes. So it was linking the heart of China with Central Asia and even further. And this wasn't just a place where silk and spices were traded. No, this was a crossroads for big ideas, for different cultures, and of course, for faith. And you can see this incredible mix of cultures baked right into the art itself. I mean, the artists who worked here were basically documenting this meeting of worlds as it was happening. Okay, check this out. On the left, in that mural, you see people in traditional Chinese robes standing right next to guards wearing Central Asian outfits. And then on the right, you have this absolutely beautiful statue of a bodhisattva. Now the pose, that's very much from Indian artistic tradition. But the face, the serene, soft features, that is purely Han Chinese. It's literally East meets West, all in a single piece of clay. But building this incredible city in the cliffs, well, that took a lot more than just faith. It was an absolutely mind-boggling feat of engineering. Someone from way back then described it perfectly. They said, caves dense as a honeycomb, along walkways suspended in the air. I mean, wow, that phrase just perfectly captures the dizzying, jaw-dropping reality of this place. I mean, just try to put yourself in their shoes. For centuries, you have artists and workers on these shaky-looking wooden platforms just clinging to the side of the cliff. They're hundreds of feet up, chipping away at solid rock with basic tools. All of it driven by this incredible shared faith to build a city for the gods right there on the clouds. So the massive scale is one thing, and the engineering is just genius. But the real heart and soul of Maizhishan, that's found in the small, intimate details of the art, in one particular expression that has fascinated people for centuries. You see, the statues here are different. They don't feel like these distant, all-powerful gods looking down on you. They feel human. Their faces are so gentle, so approachable, and they're filled with this incredible sense of peace. And that subtle, knowing look, that's what's known as the Oriental Smile. And you won't find a better example of this incredible humanity than in this masterpiece from Cave 1330. This one was made during the Song Dynasty, and it shows a really, really personal moment. This is the first time the Buddha meets the sun he had to leave behind as a baby to go on his spiritual journey. Now, the artists who created this, they chose to freeze this scene at the most emotionally intense moment imaginable. And it all comes down to one powerful, tiny detail, a hand that will never quite touch. And this is just brilliant. Look at that tiny little gap. In that space, just that little bit of air between the father's hand and his son's head, the sculptor packed in an entire universe of emotion. You can feel the nervousness of a first meeting, the apology for being gone so long, the divine compassion of the Buddha, and the respect of the son for his father. It's this incredibly profound human moment captured forever in stone. And the storytelling here is just amazing. Take this piece, for example. It's called The Buddha's Life Story Stele. You can think of it like an ancient comic strip, but carved in stone. In 12 different panels, it lays out the Buddha's entire life story. It was a way to make these really important stories understandable for everybody. So this amazing legacy, this smile that can still speak to us after all this time, the fact that it's even survived is incredible. And really, the story of how it's been preserved is a whole other saga. I mean, the history is just huge. It all started way back in the later Qin dynasty. It hit its peak during the northern dynasties. Then, those really emotional statues we saw were created during the Song dynasty. This place has been a living, breathing site for centuries. And then, finally, in 2014, the whole world officially recognized how important it is when it was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And for every single one of those 1,600 years, there have been guardians. We're talking generations of people who've given their lives to protect this fragile art, these clay sculptures and painted walls from rain, wind, and just the slow march of time. They're the reason that Smile is still here for us to see. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've seen the incredible history, the unbelievable artistry, the deep faith that was carved into this mountain. But when you really look at that smile, that gentle, knowing, Oriental smile, you just have to ask yourself, after 1,600 years, what can that look of true peace and humanity still teach us right now, today?